You know, I had a chance to speak before our great staff at Climate Pledge Arena on Monday night, and I asked them the following question, and they answered it well, but I think this group will take it to a new level. Are you ready for some Kraken hockey? All right. I'll tell you what, I've been at this for, believe it or not, it's hard to believe, almost 40 years. And last season was the best year of my entire career. And why is that? I'll tell you why. We had a chance as a group to watch two beautiful facilities open. This one here, Kraken Community Iceplex, the best arena in North America, Climate Pledge Arena. We got to watch a group of players come together, coaches kind of guide them through their season, go through all kinds of adversity and challenges. But the thing that remained constant through it all was your undying passion and support. And on behalf of the team, thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. It was absolutely incredible to watch you guys build the identity of a Kraken fan and take it from day one through 82 games. Now we got to get through the 82 and beyond, right? That's where we have to go, and it will happen. You know, as broadcasters, we have one pledge to you guys: build your trust. I hope we did in year number one. I'm very proud of what we did as a group. I'm very proud of my partner in year one, JT Brown, did a remarkable job as a former NHL player in his very first year. We built tremendous chemistry. He's a great friend, and he's all jacked up and ready to go for the second year. As far as the TV side, we're all back. We have Allison Lucan back with us with tremendous brilliance, great personality. We have our great host, Tom Glasgow, and Ross Fletcher will be back with us again on Root Sports. We also have our reporters who did a great job in year one, Piper Shaw, Jen Mueller. They'll all be back. We have a fantastic radio team with the Seattle Kraken, the one and only radio voice of the Kraken, Everett Fitzhugh. Great job in year number one. The analysis and personality of the sniper, Dave Tomlinson. Great job. Year number one on the radio. And the ever so talented Mike Benton. What a job he does. Pre, post, between periods, every day here covering the beat. So they're all back on KGR. We have a lot of great things planned for the new season. But like the team, we've added a couple of pieces to take us from what I think was a great presentation in the first year to even a better level. So when the lead analyst in the National Hockey League is available, and when that individual decides they want to join the Kraken family, and the Seattle Kraken go out and secure his services for this year and beyond, I say it's a home run. I'm going to bring out a great addition to our broadcast. He's a living legend. There's no question about it. I got to go through a litany of things about this guy. First-round draft choice, U.S. Olympian, 16 years in the National Hockey League, a head coach in the National Hockey League, and for the better part of 2 decades, going on 2 decades, top of the broadcasting chain in the National Hockey League. And he still takes my phone calls, believe it or not. Here he is, Seattle. Please welcome the one and only Eddie Olczyk.
Thanks, Johnny.
Well, we have a game tomorrow night.
We do?
Yeah, we do, yeah. I know this is news to you, but anyway, Edzo, I know you've been around the league a long time. You come from Chicago where there's a tremendous following, and now you have an opportunity to be in front of these people on a nightly basis. And how excited are you to join the team, and what can we expect?
Well, it is great to be here. Thank you for the warm reception. And yes, Kraken hockey tomorrow night, and looking forward to being in the booth with Johnny and JT and having a little bit of fun and you've been around during training camp, obviously a lot of moves by the general manager, the great Ronnie Francis, and it is great and proud to be here in Seattle and be a part of Kraken Nation. So looking forward to getting it going tomorrow, and then get ready through the rest of training camp, Johnny, and then let's get at it, right?
He's a great guy. This is Edzo. You just say, hey, Edzo, how are you? You might never leave the building. So that's number one. We also have another new addition to our team, and he's a rising star in our business. He comes from a hockey family, that's obvious, but he worked really hard as a young man to develop his game, played at a very high level for the past few years. He's been honing his skills as a broadcaster, did a great job last season filling in with the Chicago Blackhawks, and now he's in a great spot to grow with this franchise, grow with us. You're going to love this guy. Radio, television, our social platforms. The only thing I'll say is, when I'm around him, I say, thank goodness for Mom. Say hello to Nick Olczyk. She, in large part, is responsible for this. No disrespect. Nikki, welcome. And I know you're charged up and ready to go. Say hello to the fans. Nick Olczyk.
How's everybody doing? It's a real honor to be here with all of you today. I've been here for about a month now. I'm loving life. I was told the weather stays like this all year, so looking forward to some
You're
sun.
right, all year.
But really happy to be here with everybody. Looking forward to getting to know a lot of the fans throughout the course of the year. It's going to be a great season ahead. A lot of excitement. But thank you, everybody. Social media, meeting everybody in person. It's been a great welcome. So looking forward to a great year. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick. Great job.
Nick.
Eddie and Nick will be out with you guys. We're going to take some questions for our guests of honor once we get through about 6 hours of discussion over here. Anyway, please join me in welcoming Hockey Hall of Famer, the Vice President, the General Manager of your Seattle Kraken, Ron Francis. He can still move. Graceful.
Not as fast. Not as fast.
No, you can still do it. I'm not surprised.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Ronnie, first of all, what a great day, right? And let's start with our great fans and go from there.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Before I came to Seattle, I had heard a lot about the fans, so the bar was obviously set high, and I got to say, you didn't disappoint last year. It's such a great recruiting tool for us when visiting teams come into the rink and see the kind of support that you give our players, and I know our players absolutely love it, so thank you very much for that.
We're going to take you through what was a great offseason for the Kraken, and your diligent work started at the conclusion of year number one. And I want you to take us back and walk everybody through, your thought process going into the offseason, your goals and objectives, how you viewed the team, to take us through step by step, as we go along the way here this afternoon, what transpired.
Yes, there's a lot of different things that happen, continually throughout all last season. On the amateur side, we're scouting, all the different leagues of kids that are available for the draft. We're having, weekly or bi-weekly meetings with our R&D team, our amateur scouting staff, trying to get our list right and project where we might be picking and who might be available for us. On the pro side, as you get to the end of the season, we at the trade deadline made a lot of moves to sort of collect some draft capital. And at the end of the season, you have meetings with your management team, you have meetings with your coaching staff, you have meeting with your pro staff just to try and get right as you get into free agency and who might or might not be available in the offseason. So a lot of different discussions. I think when we look at our team last year, I felt there was a lot of nights we outworked the other team, we outshot the other team, we just couldn't outscore the other team. So we tried to do some changes in that regard, and adding Burakovsky and Bjorkstrand and having Maddie in for the full season and getting lucky at the draft with Shane and hopefully having Schwartz back healthy and Tana back healthy. It adds a lot of different names to our forward group, and we hope that that'll help us.
We'll touch on all of those, but what was it like being at the draft in Montreal and as the situation unfolded? Share with us what you were thinking, what was going through your mind as Montreal made their choice, New Jersey gets up there, Arizona gets up there, and then you get your chance to say 2 words, Shane Wright, and get another key building block in place?
Well, it's funny because I said to my staff about 3 days before the draft, I said, I think we can get Shane Wright. And they said, no, I don't think so. And I said, well, you look at it, Montreal, they need the big winger, which they ended up taking in Slafkovsky. When you look at the makeup of New Jersey, they didn't need a centerman,
right.
So they need a defenseman, which makes sense when they take Nemish. And then the question was, which one does Arizona pick, right? We were looking at hoping to get a centerman, and then certainly when they picked Cooley, we're sitting there with Shane Wright sitting at 4, so we were pretty excited to add him to our mix.
You have 2 young centers in Matty Beniers, who we saw for 10 games with 9 points at the end of last season. Shane Wright, 2 key foundational pieces for the team. But speak to the draft itself for the 2 seasons. The Kraken have received high marks from people who look at drafts and assess drafts and so on. But just give everybody an understanding of the prospect pool now and how that continues to grow.
Well, in theory, you get 7 picks per draft. We used 18 of them in the first 2 years, so we got a little more than we had based on making some trades. You saw Matty the last 10 games last year, and you're seeing him here in training camp. He's the real deal, so we're excited to have him in the fold. Riker Evans has had a real good camp so far. Winterton had a great last half of the season going all the way to Memorial Cup. Had some shoulder surgery. He'll be out till probably December, January. But again, looking good. Ottavainen, a big defenseman, playing well in the Finnish men's league. Jacob Melanson's here in camp, coming off a real good season last year. Vaisevoy's a Russian goaltender. Just can't get him out of Russia just yet. And Janicki finished strong at Notre Dame. But he's in college, so he can't come to our camp at this point. This year, you look at we get Shane up top, and then we got, as they call him, the Circus Firkus with our first pick in the second round. Very dynamic, skillful guy, entertaining, not afraid to go to the hard areas.
Yeah.
We describe him as kind of the greasy type of hockey player, but we like him. Jani Niemann, a big winger, has already got 2 goals in his first 3 games in the men's league in Finland, so that's encouraging. Our goaltender we drafted, Koko, has played 2 games. The first game he won 2-1. Stopped 21 of 22 shots. The goal he let in was on the power play. And the next night, threw a shutout. So he's got 2 wins already in that one. And then, as you see here with Goyette being another skilled guy coming into the fold. And there's a lot of guys that follow behind them. But we do think we've got a good, draft prospect pool coming. I think our amateur staff has done a real good job. It takes time for those kids to develop, right? Like Riker Evans, we could have sent to Charlotte last year, but we didn't control Charlotte. So we weren't sure what kind of ice time we'd get. We let him play junior 1 more year. But if he doesn't make our team now, he can go to Charlotte. We dictate that with our coaching staff, how much ice time and how he plays. Most of the kids from last year's draft don't get a chance to go to Charlotte till next year. So we're still a little bit behind in the development from other teams in building that pool. But again, we go into this year's draft with 10 picks currently. So whether we use them all or not, or make some trades at the deadline to give up picks or acquire more. But right now we're sitting with 10 more picks this year, which is, I believe, tied for second most in this year's draft.
Okay, let's touch on the free agents now. Real active summer as far as that's concerned. You all here this morning might have seen Andre Burakovsky zing it around, especially on the power play. Looked great. Talk about his addition. It's a deal with term, great price tag, works for both sides, and he has a Stanley Cup pedigree.
Yeah, he's now won 2 Stanley Cups, which is always important, bringing those kind of guys into your locker room. When I talk about him, I talk about size, I talk about speed, I talk about skill, I talk about scoring. So all things that we are excited to add to our lineup for sure.
Justin Schultz gets an opportunity to repurpose his career coming over from Washington. That's a quiet signing, but he fills a couple of areas for you.
Well, we think he can really help us is on the power play. He was in Pittsburgh. He was kind of behind Letang, didn't really get the opportunity. He was in Washington behind Carlson, didn't really get the opportunity. But this is a guy that can really help run your power play. He moves the puck extremely well, sees the ice well. So again, it's sort of a quiet signing, but something we think fills a void, and hopefully will be a big addition to our lineup.
2 other players for insurance with Chris Drieger being out. You needed an insurance policy in goal. Joey Decord had a fantastic season in the American Hockey League last year. But you bring in Martin Jones, who has a great resume behind him. And on the back end, Michael Kempney's had some really good years, especially in Washington. And he's another player to keep an eye on here in training camp.
Yeah, unfortunately for Chris Drieger, he was about 10 minutes away from winning a gold medal in the World Championships and then ended up tearing his ACL. So, he'll be out till most likely probably February. So we needed to fill that void. We found the experienced guy in Jones, a big guy at 6'4". Talking with Steve Briere, our new goalie coach, he felt there was a lot of potential there that he could work with. So excited to add him to the mix, and he's been good here in camps. And then Michael Kempney, had a couple of really good seasons in Wash. Had some injuries that kind of derailed him a bit. But Dave Basiggio and I were at the World Championships last year in Finland watching him play, and we thought, hey, this guy looks like he can play in your lineup. So adding that experience into our lineup, we think is a good fit, and he'll be good in that sort of 5, 6, 7 role.
You had some real tough decisions to make at the trading deadline. You were in a position where you had players with expiring contracts. You gave them opportunity to go elsewhere, try and win. In the meantime, you were accruing draft choices. I've seen it before. I saw what you did in Carolina, kind of building from the floor up and where they're at now as an organization. But you said back at the trading deadline, I need that in my back pocket. Ron said, I need it in my back pocket if we have a chance to get somebody, and you did with Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Yeah, I know. It's a heck of a hockey player, and Oliver.
It's okay to applaud. It's fine. It's welcome.
Yeah, he's a real good player. We talk about it, the importance of having draft, capital in order to facilitate the trades. The other part of that is having cap space. Right, it's everybody says you want to get to the cap, get to the cap. You don't really want to get to the cap unless you really think you have that you're taking it all and run. Having that cap space allows you to do certain deals like this at the right time, and being able to pick up a player of his stature, 28 goals last year, their leading scorer the last 3 years, and giving up a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick, and not even our own 3rd round pick and not our own 4th round pick. So we still maintained our 1st round pick, the 3 seconds that we have, in our 3rd. So that still gives us a lot of draft capital as we get to the deadline this year, and hopefully we're in the hunt. We can do certain things to add to our lineup if need be. So, that's when we talk about having that ability, the extra picks to move, and then having the cap space to facilitate that. We were very fortunate to get a player his stature at that point.
And that's all part of the process, right? When you
It is.
When you hear him talk about process, that's what we're talking about here. I'm going to finish with this, and we're going to get to your questions. It's different in the second year in a lot of ways, but organizationally, you have a minor league team now at full strength. The Coachella Valley Thunderbirds will be making their debut. Firebirds, I'm sorry. Firebirds will be making their debut here. They will train here. The Firebirds will train here. Just talk about the difference with that, the coaches that are in place, some of the additions there. And you did make a couple of additions to the NHL staff with Dave Lowry and goaltending coach Steve Briere.
Yeah, I know it was a busy summer. I think we signed about 60 contracts this summer between players and staff. Up top, we made a change in our goaltending. Steve Briere brought him in from Toronto. He's had 7 years where his goaltenders had a save percentage over 900, so that's what we're hoping happens here. We added Dave Lowry, a guy who's played over 1,000 games in the NHL, been an assistant coach, was the interim head coach, brought him to work with our staff. Just felt that we tried to do it last summer, couldn't find the right guy, but that helps us in that regard immensely. And then we hired Matt Lark to come in, kind of a skill development guy to work with our players pre and post practice every day. So that'll help the big team for sure. Down below, Dan Bilesman was our coach in Charlotte last year. He's the head coach here. Brought in Stu Bickle, the first ever female assistant coach in the American Hockey League, Jessica Campbell, to work there. She's very impressive. She's going to do a great job for us. And then, medical staff, equipment staff, strength staff back there. We also hired, Jeff Tambellini as our director of player development, which is critical for us now with these 18 players and Coachella in place. Jeff, and he's built his staff out, added Franz Nielsen, former NHL player, 16 years in the league. He'll be on that staff, and Justin Ray out of Vancouver. These guys now will pay specific attention to our draft picks. They'll travel around, they'll watch them on video, they'll have conversations with them, they'll talk to Gary Roberts and our strength staff on what it takes to get these guys the right nutrition, how to get stronger. the better we can help these guys become NHL players, the stronger it makes our organization. So that's that whole phase of the player development now, and having Coachella and we control it, like we said. I mean, that arena and facility is going to be the best in the American Hockey League, just like we think our facilities are up top.
And the Firebirds will play here 4 times?
4 games here in Seattle before they move down there.
And they'll play 1 at Climate Pledge Arena?
1 in Climate Pledge, 1 in Everett, and 2 here.
So you guys can keep your eye on the Firebirds and the Kraken simultaneously until we wish them all the best. They go to a wonderful location. I mean, it's no disrespect to Winnipeg, but that's a nice spot for the American Hockey League.
It's going to be a great arena, 10,000-seat arena. We got our locker room. We got a practice facility attached, our good-sized weight room for our guys to develop. They've got all the tools to be successful. Again, thanks to our ownership that want to do things right and help these guys be successful.
All right. Well, that's it from here. Now let's get to
Johnny,
some questions.
do you want to go down and do some games down in...
You have a question, sir?
Yeah.
Sit down.
You're not going to hear it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
I hope we can hear it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Ron, my question that I want to ask you is, who is going to be the next captain? I mean, and I have my own opinion.
Next captain. I could hear that, yes.
But since I know you won't answer that, can you tell us how you go about picking the next captain?
Yeah, no, so we went into last season thinking we were not going to name a captain. And then it just became very evident to us in training camp that Mark Giordano was the guy. So, we'll look at it this year as we get into training camp, as we go through the exhibition schedule, and then we'll make a decision prior to season whether we feel somebody's going to wear the A or whether we'll just go with a group of assistant captains. In the old days, there was a different way you did it. Sometimes it was the players voted. Sometimes it was an input from the coaches. In today's game, it's kind of management, it's coaches, it's talking to the players and kind of getting a sense. But you just watch and observe and say, okay, this is our captain. Or we're going to just sit patient right now, go with multiple days, and we'll make that decision down the road.
I'd like to
Great
know,
question.
Are you looking into the defense on our team? Or do you think we have everybody that we need?
Yeah, no, I think you're always looking to improve your hockey club anywhere you can. I'm excited. Vince Dunn came in this year much lighter than he was last year. In my opinion, much better condition than he was last year. So we're expecting, more things out of him. Larson, Alexiak, Susie, Morgan all know the system. So that should help in that regard. So we're constantly looking. We do have some cap space left. We have $1.86 million left under the cap without even putting Chris Strieger on a long-term injury or LTI. So we could actually pick up an extra $3.5 million if we needed. So we are looking at that, and if something comes available, we're certainly not afraid to act on it.
I was wondering if you were thinking about like a mascot.
You know what? I'm hearing rumblings that there could be a mascot, yeah, and might actually be happening sooner rather than later. So pay attention the next few weeks.
A lot of great come up through juniors, and they have great skills, but they don't make it. So what are the intangibles, the other things you look for that make a player great besides the obvious skating and shooting, etc.?
So I think you're asking what we look for in players. Is that
The intangibles. What do you look for aside from skill? Yeah.
Yeah, so the simple answer with some of the players in today's game, the game is fast, so you want guys that can skate. Certainly if they have what we call in the hockey world hockey sense, good understanding of the game and read and react, those quick decisions have to make the right way. That's good hockey sense. That's the thing we look for. We're always looking for skill. We're looking for scoring. One thing that I tell our guys is we want character individuals in the organization. We'll do a lot of background into players before we draft them, before we make trades, stuff like that. And what we want is guys with character. We feel if we send our players either onto the ice or into the community to interact with our fans, we want guys that have that character, that represent our organization well. And I think when you go upon tough times, guys with character are willing to dig in and help fight through it. Guys that don't have a strong character tend to point the finger at other guys, and that's when things really go the wrong direction. So that's a big thing for me is character in players, in people.
Hi, Ron. I'm wondering when you think the next female player will be in the NHL.
I don't know. It's right now the leagues are separate, and there's not as much. There's not supposed to be contact, but I see a lot of contact in the women's game. But I think it's a matter of time. I mean, the speed of the girls' game now is getting better and better, and the skills getting better. And as everybody will see when they come here to play, that's going to be a great event when Canada and U.S. play here at CPA Arena. And I know the attendance is getting sold out real well, so that'll be an exciting game. I hope it's sooner, but time will tell.
Hi. So I'm wondering, would you take hockey skill and hockey knowledge over strength and the ability to skate fast?
I was never a fast skater. You can go back and watch my videos in black and white. I wasn't very fast, but I thought the game very well. So to me, that's an important part of it. But in today's game, it's so much faster. I think skill is important as well. Strength you can get away with not being the strongest guy if you're smart and fast. So we try and look for the balance of what's the best attribute when we look at players. So we look at a lot of different categories, rate a lot of different categories, and then we're trying to find certain specific roles for how they fit into our hockey team as well. But that's a good question.
Last year, our special teams were a weakness. We were pretty low in penalty kill and power play. I love the acquisitions that will help the power play with Burakowski, Bjorkstrand, and Schultz. What can we do to improve the penalty kill this year?
Yeah, so it was one thing we looked at. Our penalty kill, I think, was definitely in the bottom half of the league. And power play, we certainly think we can improve on. When you look at, I'm not saying these guys are in our top 9, but if you add Bjorkstrand, Burakowski, Beniers, Wright, a healthy Schwartz, those are 5 guys potentially that can be in your top 9 that weren't in our lineup last year. So we think with the addition of that skill, that we'll be able to possess the puck more. If you have the puck more, it's harder for other teams to score, and hopefully we can create more offense on our end and score more goals.
Nick?
Where is Davy Jones?
Davy Jones? Where is Davy Jones? That's a great question.
You know what? I'm not in charge of that, but we'll make sure next time we have Davy Jones right here with us because he's a big draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's appointed.
Eddie, that's our dog mascot.
You have one there?
I just learned that. So,
Eddie O, you have one?
There we go.
Okay.
Hi, Ron. I was wondering how far out you plan your personnel moves, like years-wise. Is that like a next year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, or do you have kind of plots for all of those?
Yeah, so we have everything built, so we look at this year and the contracts and the money we spend. We have next year, which contracts technically come off the books, what contracts are on the books, where that puts us in regards to cap space, where we think the cap will be next year, 2 years out, 3 years out. So those are all things we plan. So I know it sounds crazy, but Matty Beniers played 10 games last year. That burnt a year. He's going to play this year, and most likely next summer we'll be trying to negotiate a long-term extension with him after only 2 years. So again, that's things we think of, what happens with Shane Wright, what happens with Riker Evans, what happens with the other guys as we plan forward. We have to make sure that we have cap space available for them as we plan down the road. So that's extremely important in everything we do, not only short-term but long-term, where the cap is and where the cap might go.
Nikki.
What are you most excited for this year?
Yeah, I think we just the addition of the skill and the speed to our lineup should help us a lot more on the offensive part of our game, which there was a lot of nights last year we outshot teams 35-16 and we lost the hockey game. I'm hoping this year we can score those goals early, get that confidence, and that'll help boost us, certainly offensively and help us to win a lot more wins than we had last season.
Did team identity factor into signing Ski and Bjorkstrand? Were they for their offensive styles as opposed to other options?
Are you asking if team identity had anything to do with the signings?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, the one thing I was proud about our team last year is I thought we worked hard. There was a lot of teams in the league that got beat, pretty lopsided in a lot of games, and our guys never quit. They always seemed to work hard and battle. But when we look at different things, one was being able to score more goals. So adding certainly the guys that can add skill to our lineup and scoring. Bjorkstrand with the 28 goals and Burakovsky with the skill and the scoring ability, we think is a nice mix to what we've done. And then, as I said earlier, bringing in the 2 young kids. I want to say that you got to be patient with the young guys. Like Maddie's still young and Shane's still young. It's going to take them time. The player you see now and the player you see in 2 years or 3 years is going to be totally different. They're going to get better every game. They're going to have some tough stretches. It's up to us to manage their confidence, make sure they don't lose it, and they continue to get better and better. But the future of the franchise with those 2 kids in the middle is very, very bright. So adding the players around them to help with their skill set, we think will be critical in that development for the young kids.
So it's really exciting with all the activity we had in the offseason. Looks like we're going to have a much stronger team. And so, with some of the projections for what we might be looking at with getting more wins this year, I'm wondering, how do you think about the mushy middle and not getting stuck in that okay but not the best kind of range?
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. You look at a lot of the outside voices last year. They said we had the best goaltenders, one of the best tandem and goaltenders. We're going to have 100 points, a lot of things. Internally, we weren't sure that was going to happen. We were hoping that if things went well, we would have a good season, but we knew there'd be some growing pains. We think we've done some things this summer to give us a chance. We certainly think we can compete better this year. And for us, it's making sure we get better each and every year, right? Our players don't want to lose hockey games. They want to win. They want to get in the playoffs. They want to compete for the Stanley Cup. As an organization, we want to do that. As an organization, we appreciate your support, and we want to give you that team that gets better and better and you get excited about. And that's what we're trying to build here. So when we get to that point, we want to be able not only to be there, but to stay there. And that's where the importance of the draft picks and the development underneath allows you to do that, right? John talked about what we did in Carolina. It took time to get there, but when we got there, you're going to be a good team, and you're going to be a good team for a long time because you have those young kids that can come up and manage your cap effectively going forward. So we certainly feel we'll be better than we were last year, and that's our goal each and every year is to get better and better.
Very good. Excellent questions. Our thanks to Eddie and Nick Olczyk, outstanding. You guys were flawless in the crowd. Wonderful job. Our thanks to our supporters in the corner. Before we go, the last thing we want to end on, you've been around this game your entire life, but as you watched the fans last year, as you watched the atmosphere in the arena, most importantly, the people in this group, what did it mean to you?
No, it was exciting. I mean, you watch the Seahawks and you hear about the 12th man. You watch the Sounders and the other sports team here with the Mariners when they were having the success and they're coming back again. And to be in the arena and to see the passion in our fans, I mean, that's what you want. You want fans that are passionate and the vocalness and the support that they gave our players. Even the last game of the season, we were out of the playoffs. 80% of the people stayed after the game when we're giving away the jerseys and throwing the fish in the stands. And I've never seen anything like that in all my years in the game. So we understand how passionate you are, and we're going to work really hard to give you the team you're extremely proud of moving forward. And we want to share that success with you, with the Seattle Kraken, for sure.
That's Ron Francis. And folks, that's Kraken hockey right there. Ronnie, thanks so much. Thank you all. God bless you all. Have a great day. See you tomorrow night at Climate Pledge Arena. And remember those two most important words you'll say. Go Kraken. Enjoy the season.